I finished my book yesterday. Yeah. Oh, unless it's a long day. Yeah. It was the one before, which is Tuesday. And I got it a week ago. Oh.
Yeah, for the next day.
Give me a night shift.
Yeah. Well, I got back.
I was like, oh man, oh me, she said it was hard. Again, oh, but then I
Okay.
yeah. Getting all the prescriptions.
I get my phone.
Yeah, 28. And,
I'll give you 50 days. Here, one.
yes.
And I think
I wondered. I thought you did. It Rogers and White.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I know.
But you're right. Even with time 20, right?
I don't know that.
All warmed up.
I guess so.
But I thought it was the next one.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a show.
Yeah.
We heard it's supposed to be really good.
But when you go, say hi to everybody. I really miss it. I really miss it.
I didn't mind doing it.
I'll pick up a book for you this morning. Okay. There's a lot of walking because I've got to get the other one done. Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, well, that's good. Oh, you're here. You're here.
Before I was sitting around the word,
No, I saw Ken.
yeah.
Ken, the taxi driver. He had to pick up all the football equipment. He waited.
You're here, right?
How are you?
I woke up this morning, so.
Yeah, I did. I woke up.
I just didn't wake up. Okay, so what? Yeah, no, I know I didn't mean I did was on, but then you were off and
We know it.
I went to the bathroom.
No.
Otherwise, I got an hour and a half, you know. Really, well, one hour now. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Just once.
Yeah.
So it'd be a space.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they might. Yeah. And goes back to the. Yeah. And then-
Walk down there. Yeah.
Yeah, good, okay.
He's such a liar. He's such a liar. I mean, there's some of the things I would say.
Good morning, everyone. I hate to stop conversation, but I also know people like to actually get into the worship service, maybe go home later. It's all good. Today, my name is Lisa Gehring, and it will probably be my name tomorrow, unless I go to my married name, but that's a whole different story. Welcome for being here. I am a lay worship leader, and I am leading today's service. And whether you are joining us in person or online, you are welcome here. Today, we come to worship and praise our Creator. All are invited to this time of worship and learning, teaching and praising. All are welcome. We are all part of creation. Let our praises ring. Let the nations sing. We are all God's creations. And we will start with Gather Us In. You absolutely may remain seated for this one. Please join me in the acknowledgement and thanksgiving for the land. Land is sacred and holy. Our relationship to the land is sacred and holy. Our relationship with each other on this land is sacred and holy. It calls for respect and appreciation. And so we offer our appreciation, our thanksgiving, and our respect that we can gather in this place and on this land as a result of the welcome that comes through the treaty, which allows for peaceful and respectful living on this land. Thanks to the First Nations and Métis people who have lived here for thousands of years, we acknowledge that we are connected with the people who have lived here for all these years because of the treaty. Because we are treaty people, we must honor the responsibilities that come with it. May we be people who remember this with gratitude and respect. This candle is the light in the window, reminding us that God will always welcome us home, no matter what had happened or what we have done or left undone. Come and worship to remind yourself of that vital promise. And we will continue with the call to worship, which is responsive. And I will tell a story on myself because I think you should laugh. When I typed this, I typed along and never thought anything of it. When I went to proofread it, I did realize that I had typed "We bring our hopes in rears." So I have corrected it there, but I think it might be wrong in your bulletins. So please join me. We bring our hopes and fears, our struggles and our lives as they are into the presence of the one who leaves doors and futures open to gracious possibilities. God's word lights the path before us. May this time of worship empower us to make faithful choices. God's word lights the path before us. May this time of worship renew and restore our relationships with God and each other. God's word lights the path before us. And we continue singing "How Firm a Foundation." This one, if you can stand, you might want to stand for it. How firm a foundation is the Lord is faithful, your faith knows absolute good. What more can be said than to you has been said? To you, Lord, reference to Jesus the Lamb. Fear not, I am with you. Oh, be not dismayed, for I am your God, and will still give you aid. I'll strengthen and help you, and cause you to stand. I'll help by my righteous and magnificent hand. When through the deep waters I call you to go, the rivers of sorrow shall not overflow. For I will be with you, your troubles to bless, and sanctify to your deepest distress. When through fiery trials your pathway shall lie, my grace and salvation shall be your supply. The flame shall not hurt you, I only desire your dross to pursue and your gold to refine. The soul that on Jesus has been glorified, I will not be sent to his foes. That soul no hell should never to shame. I'll never, no, never, no, never forsake. Our prayer of approach. Spirit of the living God, the message is waiting for us to discover in the Holy Scriptures today. Tell us that your powerful spirit of love desires to reconcile us to you. Whether we find ourselves feeling vulnerable and forgotten, or acting close-minded and hard-hearted, you call us to you and ask, what do you want me to do for you? In your great love for us, you gently touch and name our pain. In your great love for us, you gently help us to realize our shortcomings. Today, in our desire for wholeness, let us recognize our need for reunion with you, which will give us boldness to act on your message of love, grace, and hope. And the psalm is responsive and does have a sung refrain. I will bless God at all times. God's praise will continually be in my mouth.
My soul, glory to God. Hallowed be your name.
Oh, magnify God with me. Let us exalt God's name together.
I sought God
Who answered me and freed me from all my fears. Look to the Most High and let your light shine, and your faces will not be ashamed.
This poor soul cried out, and God heard and saved me from all my troubles.
Your angel, O God, keeps guard over those who fear you and delivers them.
They see that our God is good. Happy are those who take refuge in God.
Fear God, you who are the saints, for those who fear God lack nothing.
Strong lions
Suffer want and go hungry,
but
but those who seek God lack no good thing.
Taste and see, the goodness of
Come, my children, and listen to me. I will teach you the fear of God. Which of you delights in life and desires many ways to enjoy prosperity? Keep your tongue from evil, your lips from speaking lies. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. God's eyes are upon the righteous, God's ears open to their cry. God's face is set against evildoers to blot out their remembrance from the earth. The righteous cry out, and God hears them and rescues them from all their troubles.
taste and see, the goodness of God.
And during the prayer of confession, there will be a time for you to lift up your own prayers. Behold and praise be to you, God of the living sky. Eternal cycles of day and night and seasons upon seasons bring us again before you in amazement for your glorious, ever-changing creation. We know our weaknesses. We acknowledge our shortfalls. Bless us in our humanness. We give thanks for the Spirit ever teaching us what is right and good and true. Your endless love warms our listening hearts, assuring us of forgiveness. Beloved and divine Creator, give us new strength to discern and follow your way in our words and actions, so that we may shine for others with your light. Praise be to the one, Creator of all. And and our words of assurance. Even while remembering our sorrows and difficulties, we find hope because God's favor is never ending and God's compassion never fails. God comes every morning in great faithfulness to comfort us and to set us free. God will not reject us, but instead will show us compassion, goodness, mercy, and love. Every day is a new beginning with God. And this hymn, When We Seek Language, is one we have done a couple times, so you'll have an idea of it. But I don't want to forget about it. The words are beautiful. Maybe play it through one time and then listen.
We seek language to praise you all. Only the altars sincere to all. God and good us struggle down. Praise is just hearts on the ground. Regarded in heaven unbounded friend. Cosmic companion who loves without end. Maker and heartbeat, sorrow and pride. The ever is sight is stronger than death. Steadfastly loving, gracious living among us on unseen earth. Each hour of healing, promises true. Dying and rising to make prophets new. Eternal and unbounded friend. Cosmic companion who loves without end. Bigger than heartbeat, more subtle than prayer. Nearer than insight and stronger than death. To be our guardians, supporter and guide. You sent your spirit to stay at our side. So sovereign unity can strain power to serve, courage to do. We heard angel, unbounded friend. Cosmic companion who loves without end. And heartbeat more subtle than prayer. Nearer than insight, stronger than death.
Please join me in the prayer of illumination. Living God, as we listen to these old texts inspired by you, may we listen with inquisitive minds and compassionate hearts. May your words of wisdom speak to us in unexpected ways and unexpected places in our lives in today's world. May your wisdom move, illuminate, deepen, inspire, and motivate us to act in your world, of which we are a part. Amen. first reading this morning comes from Job chapter 42, verses 1 to 6, reading from the New Living Translation. Then Job replied to the Lord, I know that you can do anything, and no one can stop you. You asked, who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorance? It is I. And I was talking about things that I knew nothing about, things far too wonderful for me. You said, listen, and I will speak. I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. I had only heard about you before, but now I have seen you with my own eyes. I take back everything I said, and I sit in dust and ashes to show my repentance. And Job prayed for his friends. The Lord restored his fortunes. In fact, the Lord gave him twice as much as before. Then all his brothers, sisters, and former friends came and feasted with him in his home, and they consoled him and comforted him because of all the trials the Lord had brought against him. And each of them brought a gift of money and a gold ring. So the Lord blessed Job in the second half of his life, even more than in the beginning. For now, he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 teams of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He also gave Job 7 more sons and 3 more daughters. He named his first daughter Jemima, the second Kezia, and the third Keren-Happuch. In all the land no women were as lovely as the daughters of Job, and their father put them into his will along with their brothers. Job lived 140 years after that, living to see 4 generations of his children and grandchildren. Then he died, an old man who had lived a long, full life. The gospel reading this morning is Mark 10, verses 46 to 52. Again, reading from the New Living Translation. Then they reached Jericho, and as Jesus and his disciples left town, a large crowd followed him. A blind beggar named Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, was sitting beside the road. When Bartimaeus heard Jesus of Nazareth was nearby, he began to shout, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Be quiet, many of the people yelled at him, but he only shouted louder, Son of David, have mercy on me. When Jesus heard him, he stopped and said, tell him to come here. So they called the blind man. Cheer up, they said. Come on, he's calling you. Bartimaeus threw aside his coat, jumped up, and came to Jesus. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked. My rabbi, the blind man said, I want to see. And Jesus said to him, go, for your faith has healed you. Instantly, the man could see, and he followed Jesus down the road. These are the words of God's people, for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
Every blessing you pour out, turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Shining down the world's all as it should be. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the way the Lord is found. Every blessing you pour out, turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Take away, give and take away. Our purpose is to say, blessed be your name. Give and take away. Give and take away. Our purpose is to say, blessed be your name. Blessed be your name, our Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name.
Apparently, we're hard on the place. So, today's readings, I always say they're interesting because they always are. I noticed that you all laughed at the same place in Job that I do. How many times here have we told God what to do? I've done this many times. But I don't expect all of the blessings that Job has. And that's not the reading that I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to talk about the gospel. And I found this really interesting this week in particular, because in our Bible study on Tuesday evenings, we were talking a lot about healing and what healing could mean and curing and all of those kinds of things. I'm not going to get into all those details. I would encourage you to join the Bible study on Tuesday nights. We have some really good discussions. But in the readings that I was doing this week, one of the things that came up over and over again was the question that Jesus asked Bartimaeus. And everybody was talking about how important that was. And I was thinking, how am I going to explain this to you? And through a sermon for every Sunday, I found a website called Journey with Jesus. And there is a beautiful lady here, Debbie Thomas, and I believe she wrote far clearer than I ever could. And so it begins with a story about her son and some healing that needs to happen for him. And as I'm reading this, it brought to my mind times where people in my family have needed healing. Many of you know that my oldest son was dealing with cancer a couple of years ago. My husband has had his issues. We all do over time. And so I was thinking of those, but she gives an example of her son. So these are the words of Debbie Thomas. About a year ago, my now 16-year-old son had a biking accident on his way home from school. He remembers the crowded bike lane. He remembers the boy in front of him stopping suddenly. He remembers plowing into that boy's bike. And he remembers waking up on the ground. He doesn't know how much later, with a cracked helmet, a few scrapes, and a headache. That headache, officially diagnosed as daily chronic headache and migraine without aura, hasn't gone away now for about 13 months. That's how long my son has been out of school and unable to participate in extracurricular activities he loves. And I had a student in grade 8 who was hit with a golf ball and had almost the identical thing happen. That's how long he's been confined to darkened rooms with ice packs on his forehead. Needless to say, we've seen several physicians and many medications and alternative therapies. Everyone who knows and loves my son has prayed and is still praying. But at the time of this writing, the headaches persist. I share this story to explain the ambivalence with which I come to this week's gospel reading. Like many contemporary Christians, I struggle with the New Testament's healing stories, and I share that sentiment. I don't distrust them exactly. I don't doubt that Jesus healed the blind, the deaf, the lame, and the leprous. But I don't quite know what to do with the miracle stories. Should I read them as metaphors for spiritual healing and renewal? Should I regard them as myths from a pre-scientific era? Or should I, as I was taught to do as a child, believe that miraculous healings continue to this day and that God's children have every right to pray for them, expect them, and proclaim them? I don't know. All I can say is that I struggle. I don't want to leap to metaphor too quickly when it's clear in the Gospels that Jesus cared about the physical embodied lives of everyone he met. But I also don't want to hold out false hope to anyone, including myself. I suppose one easy out would be to say, well, healing happens when it's God's will. And perhaps that caveat works for some people, but it doesn't work for me. As far as I can tell, Jesus never said no to anyone who asked him for physical healing. And frankly, I can't stomach the possibility that Jesus wants my son to be in life-altering pain right now for some divine purpose God has yet to reveal. Neither does it help me to differentiate between healing and cure. When Jesus healed a lame man, the man literally stood up and walked. When he healed a bleeding woman, her bleeding ceased. In the gospel story, spiritual healing and physical cure happen simultaneously. So it doesn't feel honest to separate them from my 21st century intellectual comfort. All that said, this week's gospel reading features a healing story, one of the more famous ones in the New Testament. A blind man named Bartimaeus sits by the roadside begging for alms. As Jesus and a large crowd pass by, the man begins to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me!" Those standing nearby try to shut him up. But the reprimands only prompt Bartimaeus to shout even louder. Finally, Jesus stops, stands still, and asks the same people who had just scolded the blind man to lead him forward. They obey. "Take heart, get up, he's calling you," they tell Bartimaeus, who throws off his cloak and springs up. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asks when the blind man approaches. "My teacher, let me see again," Bartimaeus replies. "Go, your faith has made you well," Jesus responds. Immediately, Mark uses immediately a lot. The gospel writer tells us Bartimaeus regains his sight and follows Jesus on the way. It's a beautiful and layered story. I love many aspects of it, and I'm happy to share those here. I love that Jesus heals the spiritual blindness of the surrounding crowd. Though Bartimaeus is the literally blind man in this story, it's the crowd, the blind man's friends, his peers, his culture, his society, that renders him unseen. To their seeing eyes, the blind man by the roadside is invisible and therefore expendable. His shouts and cries are not worthy of attention. His suffering is not important enough to warrant tenderness, patience, or even curiosity. When the invisible one dares to speak out, the only efficient and reasonable thing to do is to shut him up. The only priority is to restore order, reestablish the social hierarchy, and maintain a status quo that keeps the privileged comfortable. But that comfort is precisely what Jesus renders impossible. Once the crowd sees Bartimaeus, they can't unsee him. Once Jesus opens their eyes to his full humanity, they must respond with compassion. "Take heart, get up, he's calling you." I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that Jesus heals the crowds first so that they can, in turn, participate in Bartimaeus' healing. What the blind man needs is not physical sight alone. He also needs visibility and validation within his community. In this double miracle story, Jesus grants him both. I love that Bartimaeus, in his blindness, sees what the crowd does not. He calls Jesus Son of David, a title Jesus did not make public during his ministry. The Gospels make clear that Jesus' true identity remains hidden from most people until after the resurrection. Even his disciples struggle to understand who and what their teacher really is. It might be the case that most of Jesus' followers are too busy seeing what they want to see. A magician, a political and military leader, a carpenter's son, a wise man. to notice what the blind man, free of all such filters, discerns so quickly. Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of David, the Son of God. We might say then that this is one of the rare and beautiful moments in the Gospels when Jesus himself is truly seen. Bartimaeus sees Jesus as holy and purely as Jesus sees Bartimaeus. The gaze and the recognition in this story are mutual. I wonder if Jesus stops and stands still precisely because the blind man surprises and delights him with this visionary gift. Teacher, I see you. I love that Bartimaeus throws off his cloak and follows Jesus on the way. A cloak that is both a beggar's covering and his livelihood. I imagine it's the cloak he wraps around his shoulders every night for warmth and security. A cloak he spreads out on the ground every morning to collect his coins from passers-by. A cloak he folds again to gather up each day's meager earnings at nightfall. I am in awe of the trust Bartimaeus has in Jesus by the end of the story. A trust deep enough to enable him to cast aside what's most familiar and safe in exchange for a way that is new and full of uncertainty. In shedding his cloak, Bartimaeus sheds his identity. In setting out on the way, Bartimaeus becomes a disciple, a traveler, a pilgrim. He commits himself without looking back. He strains forward instead of clinging to history. He is, in the truest sense, born again. And finally, and for me, this is the most precious, painful aspect of this story right now. I love that Jesus asked Bartimaeus to articulate his heart's desire. What do you want me to do for you? In one sense, it's a bizarre question. That's what I struggled with. Isn't it obvious what Bartimaeus wants Jesus to do for him? He's a blind beggar, for goodness sakes. How hard can it be to figure out what he wants? But Jesus asks anyway. He doesn't presume. He doesn't reduce Bartimaeus to his blindness. Instead, he honors the fullness and the complexity of a real human being who likely has many desires, many longings, and many needs. In asking the question, Jesus invites Bartimaeus into the honest self-reflection essential to growth and healing. What is in your heart? What do you long for? What do you imagine I desire for you? Where in your deepest desires might we find each other? It is at once a lovely and a terrifying question. It calls for radical honesty, radical vulnerability. One of my deepest desires right now is for my son's healing. I want his pain to end. I want whatever neurological condition is causing his migraines to go away forever. I want him to experience relief, joy, leisure, and fullness of life. As I said at the start of this essay, I don't know what to do with the fact that Jesus sometimes heals immediately in the gospel stories. I wish he would heal my son immediately. But for now, I know what to do with my desire. I cry it out to Jesus. I sit by the roadside, hear the crowds, and cry my longing into the air as loudly and insistently as I can. I do this because I believe Jesus wants me to. I do it because the question he asks is an essential one, and I need to hear it and answer it over and over again to keep my soul alive and kicking. What do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? In his compassion, Jesus will not stop asking. And in my need, I will not stop telling him. Continue singing just as I am, which is the way that Bartimaeus was singing.
The reading for mission and service today is entitled Hope and Transformation. Empowering families to grow more, sustain their land, and secure their futures. In a part of El Salvador, where the climate is harsh and mining projects have impacted the environment, the Association of Economic and Social Development, Santa Marta, ADES, is making a remarkable difference. Partnered with Mission and Service, AIDS has launched a transformative agroecology project bringing hope to rural farmers. This initiative is centered at the Dora Alicia Sorto School farm. Here, rural families, primarily led by women, learn sustainable farming practices that recycle nutrients into the soil, protect biodiversity, and reduce production costs. Thanks to your generous gifts, this project can equip farmers with training, technical expertise, and native seeds, all while promoting environmental stewardship and gender equality. In a region affected by increasing droughts and disrupted agricultural patterns, these new methods help farmers adapt and thrive. Your support has the power to extend to communities facing severe challenges. By contributing to this project, you are not just providing food, you are also empowering families to grow more, sustain their land, and secure their futures. Thank you for supporting projects like this through mission and service. Your gift ensures that others can look forward to a future, for their tables are full.
Thank you, Karen, for reading this morning. Please join me in the prayer of dedication and offering. Our compassion, O God, is symbolized by what we offer for your mission. The electronic transport, online donations, the envelopes, the pre-authorized remittance, and the loose bills and change, monetary contributions that enable us to reach into the community and the world. Bless our gifts that we may become blessings for our neighbors. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And we're done. And our offertory hymn. With a grateful heart, give thanks to the Lord. Give thanks because He's risen. Jesus Christ, we're strong. And now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich. Because the Lord has done for us. Give And now I invite you to come up and light a candle to raise your prayers to God. And I will begin. I light this prayer for our dear family friends who lost their father this week. May you be with them and with us all as we celebrate his life.
I'm going to light a joyous candle this morning. I probably mentioned before that my wife Deb had a cousin that was doing a lot with health issues. And when we saw her last few months in Edmonton Hospital, things didn't really look that great for her. The future didn't look that great. They just spent a week in one of the handicapped rooms in the Barrhead Inn. Unfortunately, our home can't really accommodate her with her wheelchair needs. But we found a good room there, and we got to spend a lot of quality time with them in Barrhead this week. And I was amazed by how good she's doing. So we'll count our blessings while we're there.
I'm lighting a candle because right now my grandparents are in Europe, traveling all of Europe.
And we'll continue praying our prayers of the people. Holy One, Holy All, Holy More, the one whom we gather around and within, the all of each breath, every moment, and every instant. The more of wonder, of thought, life, and love. You, the one, the all, the more. We, your people, gather. But we cannot keep our gratitude to ourselves for all the wonders around us. Each day we are given a new chance to live and breathe. We begin again, ways of kindness. It is a new day to work for justice, a new opportunity to live in right relationship with family, neighbors, friends, and all of creation. Accept our thankful, grateful hearts and expand our appreciation to embrace the unembraceable. God of mercy, your awesome mind of full of trouble and around our world. There is plenty to eat, yet there are so many hungry people. Teach us to share. There is a desire for peace. Some children have known only war. Teach us to care. We have the knowledge needed to protect our environment, yet we still choose comfort and peace. Teach us to sacrifice. There is so much to do. Teach us to begin, right where we are, one day at a time, one positive action for each moment. We pray for those whom we love and those who love us. Help us pray for those whom we do not understand, that our hearts may grow. Gather as a family of faith, named by you as beloved and worthy, united by the Spirit, in communion with all creation. We join our voices to pray the way that Jesus taught, each in the language of our hearts, singing. As you can see, there is much going on in the life of our church. We have Bible studies on Tuesday evenings and Thursday mornings. Next week will be a communion service. This Tuesday would actually be a really good time to join Bible study because we're actually doing a workshop on trauma. And that is going to be heart-tugging and informative both. So that would be a great thing. And I would like to highlight, and it is bolded in here, that the next collaboration workshop with Monica from Athabasca is on November 16th. And this is a great time to come and to get to know her. Then she will be staying in Barrhead that weekend, and she will lead our worship on the 17th. Well, Roger will be in Athabasca leading worship for Athabasca and Fort McMurray, and it should be a wonderful time. I see that we also have some wonderful movie coming up and Messy Church. Always so much to go with.
And everybody, remember, time change this coming weekend, Saturday night, you get an extra hour's sleep.
And Mike,
Tonight, yeah, it's like,
You know, Lisa mentioned it already, but I would really encourage you to come for our next workshop. It's fun. Monica injects some fun. We got to be like kindergarten kids and do an activity. So our probably the first workshop that Monica led was really talking about our gifts, how we bring to our congregations and what we can bring to our faith. This one was really focused on our personal relationships with Jesus. Who is Jesus for us? We come here and worship, but we don't often talk about that. And sometimes we're uncomfortable in the United Church giving our personal testimonies. We think that's too evangelical for us. But anyway, one of the playthings we got to do was pick a craft. So this was the craft I picked was we made a little block and we got to decorate it and try to pick symbols. What does Jesus mean for you? So I was looking at this week, and I guess the one I wrote out myself, I picked some little symbols, but for me, Jesus is my guiding light. I try to think of that every day. So come and join us. You don't have to have come to the other sessions, just come to this one and you'll have fun and you'll enjoy it.
When is it?
The 16th on a Saturday. So please come and join us.
Caitlin.
Good morning, everyone. I want to say a big thank you to those of you who have donated for the Vote No campaign or started talking to your neighbors or people that you know about why it's important for us to vote no to the plebiscite. Or for those people who have started writing letters to the editor for the newspaper. If anyone else is interested in how they can help, if you want more information, I know I was talking to some people this morning about having an information session, and so that is something we're investigating. Please come and talk to myself, talk to Dustin, or talk to Leslie, because we're spearheading this Vote No campaign, and we will give you all the information that we have. Thank you so much for your help thus far.
Thank you, Caitlin, for your leadership in that area, and Dustin as well. I know you've been very active as well. So our community of faith focus for the week is Southeast Pastoral Charge. So keep them in your focus. And please say with me the extinguishing candle.
We distinguish this man from the light of truth, warmth of unity for the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Let the Spirit bring peace, hope, and joy
Until we meet again, and we shall see a world of light and a world of joy. Now, our closing hymn is one that is very similar to other ones we have done, but is not the same. So I'm going to get Therese to play it through one time. world in joy. Go forth this day filled with the joy and delight of God's love given for you, inspired by the spirit and power of God's wisdom shared for you, and strengthened and encouraged to open your hearts to be prepared for the Lord. And go now in peace, and yes, please us around. I stopped. It was I did. It's all good. Have a great week, everyone.